All right, so let's begin the show. The Reserve Bank of India issued a directive mandating regulated entities, including banks, to surrender all original, movable, immovable property papers and eliminate charges lodged with any registry within 30 days of the loan account being fully repaid, else pay the fine on a delayed number of days. Now, this development and this particular step, how is it impacting a common consumer? Let's understand the implication of this. With me, I have Aparna Ramchandra, founder, director, rectifycredit.com. Aparna, good evening and welcome to the Money Show. Could you please help us understand the various things involved in this particular decision that RBI has taken? In the first place, this kind of mandate or directive that's been given by the RBI, what actually triggered will be my first question to you, Aparna.
Hi, Kavita. This is an excellent initiative and a long-awaited one from RBI. There were a lot of people who and entities who were really following this up with RBI because this is like a systemic cleansing. Putting these things in perspective is what I would like to call it, because when you take a loan, when you apply for a loan, the bank is very particular and very clear as to what are the documents it requires, without which it will not disburse. So similar professional attitude has to be setting in, practice has to set in when the loan closure happens. So ideally, once the whole repayment is done, within 7 days, there has to be an NOC that needs to be issued, which is saying that, and a closure letter which says that the bank has closed this loan and it has no objection that this loan is closed. So this is point number one. Point number two, subsequent to this, if there are any mortgage papers, then the bank needs to release those papers. It need not sit on those papers because the loan is closed. Now, what triggered this was in the last 2 to 3 years, if you see, there was the first series of interest rates going down. So a lot of people went ahead and did balance transfer. So they moved their loans from one account bank to the other where they were getting a lower interest rate. There were also cases where no processing fee was not there. So there were a lot of other benefits. So the borrower deemed it fit to shift from one bank to the other. So the original bank, because it could not do anything else, had a tendency to just sit on those papers and not give those papers on time. So what happened in the bargain? The borrower lost out on that opportunity because he could not submit the papers. So out of whatever, no choice, frustration, they had to come back and stick to the original bank. This was one thing. The second important thing in this whole directive that RBI has given, which I think is equally important, is if for any reason these original documents have been lost or damaged by the bank during the tenure that the papers were with the bank, it is the bank's responsibility to make sure that duplicate copies or assistance in getting those originals certified is part of the bank's responsibility. I think this is an equally excellent initiative, because there have been umpty number of cases, horror stories where you've documents to the bank and then the bank is so callous and sometimes just irresponsible and says हमने घुमा दिया है, या हमारे लॉकर में फ्लड आ गया और चूहे खा गए. So and then what does the borrower do? So this was completely unacceptable. So this is an excellent thing. So part one, if you don't return the papers in 30 days, start paying the fine. Part two, if you have taken the documents, but while during the custody of those papers, if you misplace or damage them, then jolly well make sure that alternate arrangements are done and the borrower gets the papers. Kavita.
All right, so Aparna, now this is to be implemented since when, and what are the borrowers' rights that they need to know, because that's also crucial.
There is no date that has been given in the directive, because even I was going through. So, but I'm assuming it should start ASAP, maybe by October or so. Secondly, as a borrower, see, at one level, the bank, I mean, at one thing, we are saying that the bank is responsible to return your papers, but it is the borrower's responsibility also to have that list of documents that they have submitted to the bank while taking the loan to have a copy of that. Because we at Rectify Credit have also seen borrowers who come to us and say, we don't have the original paper, but I also don't know what I had given. So, sometimes there are insurance certificates, there are, other collaterals you have given apart from the property papers. So it is very important you also keep a copy of the list of the documents that you've submitted. This is as far as the borrower's responsibility is concerned. As far as the borrower's right is concerned, it is very, very important that as soon as the payment gets cleared, see, payment will get cleared when, if I'm paying the entire amount by check, then once the check gets cleared. If that loan is being taken over by another bank, then if that X bank makes the payment to the Y bank on that particular day, you have to be making sure that, like I said earlier, first is get a closure letter, because basis this closure letter, your bureau updation happens. So it is very important that you first collect the closure letter. Within 7 working days, the lending bank is supposed to give you a no objection certificate, NOC, which if you've taken a subsequent loan, you have to go and submit it there. Otherwise, if you closed it, you keep a copy of your, you keep that copy. Thirdly, also make sure that the original bank from where you closed the loan, or you took, or, you transferred that loan is getting updated with the credit bureaus as properly closed with that particular date. So these are three rights you have as a borrower. If this is not happening, then there are enough and more avenues wherein you can raise a complaint, or submit your grievance and get this rectified. Kavita.
One question to you, Aparna, over here. What if the borrower or the joint borrower passes away, and so the documents are not to be given to them or difficult to give them back? What are the RE supposed to do in that case, and what does this new mandate say about that?
Ideally, in these scenarios, the person who has the nominee in the will, he has the rights to go and represent themselves along with the death certificate and the other documents, and the banks give the papers to them. So the same thing will hold good even now.
All right. So this only, we are just not talking about home loan documents over here, right? All type of loan, personal, home
Yes,
loan, car loan, gold loan, etc. Yeah.
yes. And
Okay.
it is
Okay.
very clear in
Yeah.
RBI, it says mortgage or otherwise. So whatever
Okay.
papers you have given, once that relationship is over, the bank is supposed to hand over those documents to you.
Also, Aparna, so this particular problem actually arises in what kind of regulated entities, if I just want to know whether it is the home loan givers or the personal loan givers, in which department of this entire borrowing is this impacted the most?
This is, like I said, this typically got triggered from my understanding was these home loan borrowers who were getting these balance transfers done. So in a large chunk, this is because of the home loan borrowers. The second would be auto loan guys. So otherwise, typically for the rest, it is a very fairly simple thing, because for example, credit card, you don't have any documents. You just go, request for the closure of your credit card. They give you a closure letter with an NOC, and there ends the story. Personal loan, again, you have, because it is an unsecured product, you've really not submitted any, mortgage any papers. So coming back, the large chunk is because of home loan. Next, I would assume would be auto loan,
All right, so
and
clearly,
then gold loan, maybe.
sure. Okay, so it's more about for the registered entities to behave responsibly. But then, do you see it's going to have a huge impact to a borrower's life? Do you see it being a very trend changing kind of a mandate, like the magnitude of this?
I really believe that this is a game changer,
Okay.
because see, more and more, if you see, in India, the consumer of a BFSI sector is getting empowered, is getting more rights. Earlier, there were only duties, there were no rights. Today, he is getting empowered. So for me, this in given that background, this is a game changer. And at the same time, also what RBI is making sure is, cleansing the whole system, making it very professional. Otherwise, the whole attitude was like, if you are my borrower, then you listen to my whims and fancies. So I can demand, but I am not answerable, was the attitude. But today, like I said, one is within 30 days, they have to give the paper. But equally important is, if they have messed up your papers, then they are jolly well responsible to also make sure that you have an alternate copy. For me, that, because that as a process, see, the banker is going to look at this whole thing very differently. Otherwise, a lot of these large PSU banks, it was really, really horrendous.
Right, I think that will be all. Thank you so much, Aparna, for being on the show and helping our viewers with this new strict norm for lenders that RBI has come up with. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kavita.
On that note, we'll take a quick break, and post that, let's talk about financial decisions, or maybe the right kind of financial behavior that women need to take in account, especially after getting married. All of this we'll be discussing with Shilpa Gole after this break.